All right, guys and gals, we're out here on the range today talking about my brand spanking new 6.5 Creedmoor. This thing started life as a basic Bergara B14, and we've since bolted a whole bunch of crap to it to turn it into the beautiful monster that you got here before you. So starting out with the tip, we have the AB Suppressor's Raptor. This full video on that thing. It's in its full reflux form today to make that thing sound absolutely sweet. As far as optics, what we got going on is the Arken EP5. We've touched on Arken optics before, a little bit lower power variant. This one is the 5 to 25x variant and 34 millimeter. The highlight, though, of today's video is this new chassis from Woox. As far as controls are concerned, if we look here, we have two buttons basically. You push this and it changes the cheek height. I'm running all the way down because of the height of my rings here. And then back here, we have the same thing, another button that changes the length of pull if we so desire. The other thing that we have is ambidextrous attachments for sling points. So if we wanted to run a sling over here or over here, all we have to do is push those, your standard swivel studs. And then of course this thing is aggressively checkered in all the places you need to touch it. But the other thing that I wanted to point out about this thing is because it's wood construction, as far as the parts that you're going to interact with, it's not super grippy. I've had those ones that basically grab onto your face. If they've got any rubber on them, this is nice and slick, comfortable to shoot. Back here, again, we have an accessory rail underneath that is removable if you so choose. As far as up front, M-LOK compatibility, so if you want to do any attachments on the front end, you can, bipods. Now I have a question for you guys. I need you to sound off in the comment section down below and tell me what your favorite bipod and favorite monopod are, and we're gonna go after those for a subsequent video on shooting this thing. First shots. Today we're going to be shooting Fiocchi 6.5 Creedmoor 130 grain, and this is going to be doing 28-20 feet per second. They do make these chassis available in bottom metal and no bottom metal. This one is configured for AICS magazines. So that's what we're going to be doing here today with a stolen magazine. Thanks, Brad. 450.
You better go tip the butt like Grantham.
And welcome back. We're out here in the shade taking a break because it is really freaking hot up there. It's like 93 degrees and like 1,000% humidity because it rained this morning, and Curtis now has developed allergies. This is a new thing, so yeah, just kind of falling apart. What can I say? But I'm out here doing some accuracy testing because, to be completely frank, the ammunition that we were using in the last segment, I'm somewhat unimpressed with the accuracy on it. So I was talking to my brother, who also owns a B14, and he was like, oh yeah, man, 130 grain ammunition is no go on the B14. And I'm like, oh, well, that's good information to know. I wish I would have talked to you before I ordered ammo. And he says, yeah, I went away from all 130 grain ammunition. So I was shooting Sirocco, which is a hunting load, which has already got a ding against it because it's going to be inherently less accurate than a target load. And it's 130 grain, and he says that 1 grain makes a big difference with the performance of the B14. So we're going to find out. I also happen to have some of this stuff. This is 129 grain SSTs, another polymer tipped ammunition. This is from the Extrema line. 100 yards. I shot my first group using the same ammunition as last time, and I don't have my caliper out here today, but I'm going to call it probably about 2 minutes. Again, not super impressive. So we're going to see what this stuff does at the same distance. It's so hot. I forgot to spin my turrets back down. So took the elevation adjustment out, started shooting up here, fired this single round, and forgot to do the windage adjustment. So I took the windage adjustment back to 0. And then those 5 that you see there are the Sirocco ammunition. And I'll go ahead and roll an overlay with the measurement when I get back to the shop. If we look down here, the 129 grain SSTs, a dramatic improvement. In wrap up, there's just a couple things that I wanted to highlight that I sort of glossed over in the initial on the chassis that I think are good attention to detail type things that should be shouted out. So I mentioned previously that the chassis is available in both bottom metal and magazine. I obviously went magazine. And I would identify this as a standard length AICS release, but if you listen and look, we have some aggressive checkering on that release. Now, that's not usually very important, but when it's greasy outside like it is today, or my mind goes to wintertime, when we've got reduced dexterity, either because of cold or the gloves that we're wearing, getting a purchase on those releases can be somewhat of a challenge and can be somewhat frustrating when things are frozen. So good looking out on Woox's part by including that in their metal, because that's just one of those quality of life things for the end user. So good on them. Now, moving rearward, we touched on this, right? The adjustable length of pull. If you look at that, I see a back plate, a shim, and a recoil pad. That's a lot of length of pull adjustment, so I don't know why you would need more than that, but if you're a giant or something like that and need to add more shims, then I've identified this as a shim from use on other rifles. So it looks like there's the capacity to add different size shims, or perhaps even reduce it if you really like the thing crushed up short if you're a small person. So again, modularity is something that I like to see. Speaking of modularity, if we move here, the last thing I wanted to kind of highlight was if you look at that bolt handle, there's a fair amount of air on either side of it. That's a big old gap. And what that tells me is that this chassis is built with considerations for a wide range of firearms that fall inside the R700 family, but then also latitude when it comes to changing out your bolt handle. Different geometries, looks like it'll be able to work out there. In closing, I want to take you to the Woox website. Yeah, you can just pick up their standard models if that's what you're into, but their custom shop function allows you to build it your way with a variety of options providing mix and match modularity to achieve your desired look. Woox seems to be offering a lot of versatility, so be looking out for more on them as the setup gets broken in and the round count continues to climb. There's a lot of videos that I've come up with that having a decent quality 6.5 to shoot them with is something that I've wanted to do for some time. Now I no longer have to borrow my brother's when I have a 6.5 project. Now I just have one hanging out. Solid pickup if you're in the market for a chassis, particularly in the wood and metal variation. So special thanks to all our patrons on Patreon and Subscribestar who helped pay the ammo bill on this one. You guys are doing heavy lifting on that. You should see some of their names on screen right now.